Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and a very big round of PvP tuning is coming through. A lot of specializations are getting some much-needed love and attention, and some specializations are getting a little bit of a tune down from their current powerful stances. And in today's video, I wanted to make a tier list, basically predicting and anticipating which specializations I think will likely, be creme de la creme, top of the crop, and really benefiting from these changes, and which specializations you might have fallen off as a result. And obviously I will update this tier list as the week goes on and we collect the actual data of it, but I wanted to give you my ideas moving into it, so that maybe you could think about which specializations you should be really excited for checking out here, and then maybe which specializations maybe tamper your expectations a little bit, dampen them down a little bit, because maybe it's not going to really be that good, so that way you're not too disappointed when the servers actually go live and you're able to queue up. So Warlock, all three specializations, you guys are receiving some significant armor increases. We are seeing some hero tree rebalancing for some of them as well, so likely a little bit of a tune-up. I already think Affliction is pretty good, and I think with the reductions to Warrior Execute, the armor increases to assist you a little bit with Windwalker, it might not be too huge though. It honestly might not be too huge, so I'm kind of tampering my expectations with Warlock. I'm kind of holding them in a little bit in reserve. They could end up being really good, but I feel like I'm going to hold it a little bit more in reserve. Demonology Warlock, really good control. I just did 2400 challenge before the buffs, and I think the easiest was still technically Affliction. But I think Demonology, I think I just have way more experience on Affliction. I think Demonology is likely going to give you a little bit more of better results, and Demonology, especially with the armor buffs, because were pretty good into the melee classes relative to the other Warlock specs. I'm going to put Demonology on A tier. And then Destruction Warlock. This is a tough one, because if you are tanky enough to actually stand still long enough to actually get through interrupts and get chaos bolts, you could be really scary. But I'm kind of tampering my expectations. I'm kind of holding them here, holding them in reserve. We'll see when it goes live. I do think that the Warlock changes were likely, the smallest as far as buffs that came through with the classes. So I'm a little bit more conservative with my expectation for them moving into the servers going live. But they could explode. These guys definitely could explode. Frost Mage, I think, is still S tier, even with the changes to Overpowered Barrier. I think the main reason for this is just the snares and the proc roots. The Frostbite root that procs just needs to be nerfed. Like the fact that you can use a root break and then get instantly rooted again by a blizzard and like mid-charge and you lose a gap closer, it's just so incredibly overpowered. It's been for a long time, but it's so overpowered. That is the main benefit to you as Frost as opposed to Fire, which Fire did receive significant damage increases to basically almost all of its abilities, but it also had its overpowered barrier damage reduced, and that was your number one damage at the time. So your number one damage got reduced and all your other damage went up. You might end up feeling almost close to the same. So I'm kind of holding this in reservations as well on B tier. I think before I had it like in C, maybe D. So I think it is likely going to be better than where it was before. But I think that it can't compete with Frost because it doesn't have the same level of control as far as snares. And it's very similar instant damage, but we will have to see. Could be wrong about this one. Again, I'm being much more wary with this one just because it's been very weak, and I think the comparisons are very stark between the two. Arcane Mage, you don't have to worry about the reflect damage bonus because you didn't have that to begin with Overpowered Barrier. So, I mean, for me, I think Arcane Mage is still phenomenally strong. Maybe slightly weaker than Frost in some sense just because you have to hardcast a lot. And the difference there is that you can be interrupted and shut down a lot easier. The damage is a little bit more predictable, more on like a set timer with Touch of the Magi, as opposed to Frost, which is just every Comet Storm pretty much is almost a kill, and even some flurry combos and dampening. So I'm trying to reserve the S tier for like the really omega strong specializations that I think are still going to be kind of dominant here. Elemental Shaman, I'm slapping you guys up here. I don't see why you would be any weaker as a result, especially if things like Warlock end up getting stronger. You're generally really good into Warlocks. So if this does, transition a little bit up and we're really good into Mages, you'll likely be having a really good time as like top dog of the Wizards. So Elemental Shaman, I think, is going to be in a really great spot. Balanced Druid, defense still the main issue for it. Its offense is really good. I think the turbo boost item level in the patch before, giving us faster cyclones, has helped out a lot as far as viability. But as far as for like a newcomer, I think it is still quite difficult. But I might give it a little bit of a jump higher than B tier for now, just because I think its instant burst is a lot more lethal, and your quality of life can be a little bit better than these guys as far as being trained having more instant cast damage and a little bit more just like constant on-demand mobility as long as you're aware of it and utilize it correctly. Might have to shift Demonology down at some point, but Boomkin is definitely really good. Hunter, I think, is still... I might be like... Maybe I'm totally off my rocker with this one, but I feel like Hunter is insanely good. I just did the Marksmanship Hunter challenge, and then I re-rolled Beast Mastery, and then I'm finally getting some haste gear. I did it on my live stream, which you can catch those. I'm going to be trying to do those every day, basically. And I'm pushing every spec that I can in the time frame we have, the 2400 Radiant Solo Shuffle. As soon as I got some haste gear on BM Hunter, it felt so strong. It just felt so strong. When I didn't have haste gear, though, felt so weak. I was playing full mastery from Marksman, and the gear there definitely made a big difference, but it was so strong. Like, I really can't not say that it's S tier. Like, it's probably just slept on, man. I swear the spec is actually really good when it comes to just ladder play. You know, we're not talking like tournament level. I think maybe tournament level, it gets shut down. It's a little more squishy, but as far as ladder play, I think it's really good. Now, maybe I need to do something like this and move everything down a little bit as far as like tampering my expectations. Marksmanship Hunter, I am slapping up on S tier, though. You guys are going to be the only spec, I think, left in the game that's going to be critting for like above 5 million damage. Actually, maybe Frosty K, but... You're just really good. Straightforward, lots of damage, really impressive, basically. Devastation Evoker, really good beginner specialization. Would highly recommend it. If you're in a beginner position as a range DPS, I think Devastation Evoker and maybe Marksmanship Hunter are like the best range that you could play as a newcomer to that role. It's really good. It's just straightforward. Still going to do remarkably high damage. I don't know why it would be any weaker than it currently is, basically. Do I think it's S? I want to put it on S. Like, this is the thing about the specializations right now, is like so many of them are actually just so good. So like they're getting the balance really close. The balance is coming in really close. They're all so really good. I'll leave it on A and try and keep my reservations about S because I don't want to go too crazy about it. But Devastation Evoker is really good. Just really good throughput. The hover snare immunity is easily the strongest part about the spec. It's similar to the Mage root proc. Like, you just completely destroy melee DPS. They just cry when they see you in the lobby because they know they're not going to be able to attack you. Shadow Priest, on the other hand, melee don't cry, but sometimes range do. You're still really tanky, and you are getting a little bit of a buff with Entropic Rift damage going up a bit. So I think like it would be unfair to not say that you're A tier. I think it can be a frustrating experience because you're just really limited mobility. You will get trained. You have to deal with all the kicks. But as far as viability, I think it's definitely a solid option. Arms Warrior. This is the big elephant in the room, right? You know, with the execute nerf. I really want to like... I'm not going to lie. I want to say it's B tier, even despite all of its popularity on the ladder. I think that it gets hard countered by Mage, Dev, and Hunter, and even to some extent Ellie can be difficult. Warlock armor is going up, like, so the things that you're already weak against are still maintaining their strength. I'm taking a gamble here, and people are going to get mad. I'm taking a gamble here. They're going to get mad, but I'm actually saying Arms Warriors might be kind of mid. The 15% damage to execute is a big hit. Sustained damage is generally not as valuable at the moment, so the rend damage going up I don't think is as big of a deal. I think it's the right direction to take it, but still burst damage is more valuable, I think, in the meta. I think it's kind of mid. Fury Warrior, you guys got completely owned. I'm putting you on C tier. I think that your ability to maintain uptime on these guys is going to be really hard, and if Warlocks get any tankier, it's going to be really tough for you. Your Mortal Strike uptime went down. I think Fury Warrior is starting to fall off more and more as time goes on. Survival Hunter, you guys got a nice little buff here. I still think you're going to end up being kind of mid, not terrible, just like kind of mid relative to everything else, just because it's so easy to CC you. You don't have a lot of like range disruption. You can be shut down quite heavily in that regard. Whereas Beastmaster and Marksman just have the luxury of just being ranged or even just pet damage around the corner for a lot of times. So not that it's not viable. This feels weird though, putting Fire Mage here and putting Warlock here next to these guys. I'm going to be honest, like making this prediction is so hard. Because like I would never have put Warrior on the same tier as any of this before, but I feel like it could end up being down here. Havoc Demon Hunter, I'm still going to leave on A tier. I think it's just a really solid pick, really good throughput overall. Main weakness is Subtlety Rogue, but again in like ladder PvP, it's less of a problem because people are less coordinated. Outlaw Rogue, I'm going to put down here on C tier. I think its damage output is still low, although the stamina buff is nice. I think it's going to be a bit tankier. I think its damage output is definitely hindering it quite a bit. Assassination Rogue is the same deal. I'm going to be putting it down here on C tier. I think it can be disrupted really heavily. I think it's just we're in a Paladin meta also. And we're in a Paladin meta between Holy and Ret. Rogue is generally not as good because it's basically like the direct counter feeding into it. And I think those classes are still going to be good. Subtlety Rogue, though, on the other hand, I do really want to put it on S tier. I do really want to, but I'm not. I'm going to put it on A tier. Main problem is that random players will DR your stuns, but if you can get out of that little area of hell at the lower part of the ratings of the ladder, then I think you'll really see the potential of Subtlety Rogue. Ret, we're still leaving up on S tier. Omega strong, just really good overall damage utility. You cannot go wrong with this pick at the moment. Enhancement Shaman, I'm sorry guys, D tier. I just did the 2400 challenge on it. Totemic has way too many keybinds. It's way too cumbersome. And I played Stormbringer and it felt so weak. It just felt so hard to win. I felt like I was doing half the damage of everybody in a lot of cases. So hard to connect to things. The only real strength of Enhance right now, since the buffs from the more recent patch, is that you heal a lot. So like you can keep yourself alive in a lot of cases, which makes it a really good 1v1 spec. It might even be the best dueling 1v1 spec in the game. But when it comes to like more rated content, I feel like it falls off really hard. So I'm kind of leaving this guy here. Unholy DK, I'm holding this one in reservations also, just because the things that they're buffing are not oriented around burst damage. Whereas with Frost DK, which, you know what I really want to do right now? Yeah, I did that. No, I did that. I think Unholy, the main issue is survivability is going up. That's nice. But burst damage is not that great. Whereas Frost DK is getting a massive burst damage increase with Obliterate and Frost Strike damage, as well as the Death Strike healing. So I think Frost DK could actually take over. It's what I'm going to play today on my stream. First thing I'm going to play, I'm sending some Conquest boxes over, and I'm jumping on that to confirm this. This is my first big gamble, basically, on these predictions. Basically, like, we're picking stocks, but with specs, like which ones are going to be the performers moving into the future. I think burst damage is really valuable. Durability is obviously really valuable. I think Frost is probably jumping up into that domain pretty easily in the near future. Feral Druid, I'm holding, as far as like for ladder play, I want to hold you a little bit more in reservation. I think that it's a lot harder to pull off damage with this as opposed to Frost or Ret. I think they're going to get sick results with way less effort or like personal skill growth than you're going to see from Feral, especially in the short to the midterm. Although in the late term, I think it's still really good. It just has solid throughput overall. Windwalker Monk, I think this is probably going to be... do I want to say it's S tier? I really want to say it's S tier. I feel like it's got crazy damage, like crazy synergy with these specs also. I'm going to slap it up on S tier. I'm taking some really big risks with this, with the three that I'm going up here, but I think these guys are all really heavy burst hitters. They're all decently durable now. I think that's a formula for success, basically, as far as ladder play. Holy Priest. The healers are actually hard now. No, normally I was like, oh, these two are the bottom, these two are the best, and that's just how the healer balance has been for basically so long, but I don't think it's that straightforward anymore. So, ooh, this is hard. Healers are hard. Which healer is actually the number one healer? I feel like Holy Priest is always a safe pick. I think the Angel's really strong, really good throughput. You might struggle with Frost DK. I think Shaman's going to struggle the most, though, with Frost DK. I think I'm going to leave Holy Priest as number one healer for now, and maybe we'll put two up there. Maybe like Druid as well. I think Druid is really strong right now. We'll leave Holy Priest and Druid as the top two healers to go with as far as the healer role. Really good throughput. I think the main strength of them is just the Angel and the Tree, Ancient of Lore. Those two immunity modes where basically you're guaranteed to keep your team alive are really good in ladder play. And then the overall throughput, mana regeneration are still in strong positions. Now, the healers that got buffed the most, let's talk about those guys. Preservation and Resto Shaman. I think Resto Shaman, the Earthshield buff is probably the most significant. I think you're still going to struggle with Frost DK. You're going to struggle with Windwalker Monks. Like, these guys can be really scary for you as a Shaman. So I'm holding. I want to hold the reservations, but I'm going to put you on A tier for now. I think that you could have run into some big risks with these big slugger melee just completely knocking you around, but you did receive quite a big throughput increase. Prez Evoker, I'm not as confident in. I think the range limitation is still holding you back a lot relative to the other healers. Although the throughput increase is nice, I definitely think it's going to feel better than it did before. Relative to how you feel with the other healers, though, I think you're still going to feel like you're probably at a bit of a disadvantage. Holy Paladin, still really strong. Just good throughput overall. Really good counter with the cooldown healing that it has for the type of burst damage that is currently in the game. Discipline Priest, I think, is also still a really strong option. We'll leave it on A tier. Just good throughput, both damage and healing. Really good damage mitigation cooldowns as well, which are really effective in dampening situations like Solo Shuffle. Mistweaver Monk. Oh, I forgot about Augmentation. We're just slapping you down here, guys. I'm sorry. This thing is just a cheese spec. They're just one shots. We're just going to leave it down there in the D tier. Mistweaver Monk. This is a hard one too, because I feel like it's getting better, but it's still really easy to CC. It's got some cheesy stuff that people were abusing, where you get like stack up stuff to make your kicks hit really hard at the beginning. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's better than Prez, but I don't think it's better than Holy, Shaman, or Disc. So I'm leaving it down a little bit of a tier here. You can see obviously with this tier list, if you're coming in now and you're just seeing this, that I'm taking some risks with where I'm putting Warrior, right? Like Warrior and Rogue, taking some risks. I think Enhance is the obvious one, right? Some of these are the obvious ones. And I'm taking some risks with Frosty K, but I think Frosty K, this might be your comeback. And usually when you guys have a comeback, they're pretty quick at nipping you out. So maybe take advantage of it, right? That's like the whole point of this prediction tier list is like, what could you take advantage of right now in the shortest period of time when you log in for the first time? And some of this might be wrong. Maybe Warrior ends up being totally fine, but I think that it might fall off just a tiny bit. Unholy is another one where I think it could wiggle into A tier. Could wiggle. Like these guys in B tier, except maybe Survival Hunter, have the potential to wiggle. They got a little wiggle room for sure. If you're looking at this, there's a little bit of this B tier can wiggle. It can move a little bit. C tier might wiggle a little bit into B tier as well, but that's good. That means that they're getting really close with the balance. If I can sit here and not like distinctly like know, that's when the game, when you know the game is getting into a really good balanced state, and that's exactly where the direction that they need to be continuing to move in. But I'm curious to see how that plays out. I really want to know how the armor buffs play out for Warlock. I think that's like the biggest question for me. I think DK is likely going to feel noticeably better, and Warrior over time is going to feel noticeably worse. But it's also like 40% of the ladder, so maybe it's okay for it to go down a little bit in the short term, and then we'll see where they need to go from there. But that's basically it. Those are my thoughts for the class, for the specializations moving into this patch update. And as always, if you want to make sure you stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, then make sure to smash the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.